Does anybody know what you're supposed to say when your team wins the title? I mean, I've done this for a few teams winning the finals now, but when it's my own team, suddenly I don't know what the hell to say. Look, if I end up forgetting something, then my bad. But I want to talk about Tatum and Jalen for a bit now, because like a day or two ago, leading up to this, I was watching their highlights from the 2018 playoffs. You know, when they went to the conference finals, lost to LeBron in Game 7, Jalen's second year, Tatum's rookie season. And Horford was right there, of course, and you best believe I am not going to forget about Al Horford in this whole thing. But I don't know, like I'm watching him score on like J.R. Smith in the Cavs series, or I'm watching him score on like Bellinelli or J.J. Redick in the Sixers series, and Jalen's got the flat top, and Tatum has the short hair and like no beard or anything. And since then, it's been something. I mean, with the lowest point being that 500 season where eventually, Brad's like, yeah, I got to go to the front office, man, because I feel like my influence here is not what it once was. And then the first half of that Udoka season where they were 500, and then, from then on, like in the grand scheme of being an NBA team, it's been mostly successful. But obviously, we know, it's been the Warriors series where they just didn't look ready. Obviously, Tatum didn't have a great series then. Jalen was better in that series. There was the many battles against the Heat with Spoelstra, Jimmy, and Bam just being terrors in my life, as well as Caleb Martin. And just the year in, year out process that went with that, where sometimes the discussion around it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was certainly criticism to throw at him between, did the positions overlap too much and all this stuff, but my thought process was always, well, they've been really successful. They got there earlier than you would expect guys at their age to get there, but still, they never actually got the thing, right? And so I'm happy I just got to watch those two figure it out year after year with this game, and this is probably the only little excerpt you're going to get about this specific game, because I've done enough talking about basketball on the court for these playoffs. I enjoyed all of it, but this is the one time you can kind of just do whatever. But with that said, in this game, Tatum, he's putting Luka in actions. He's asking Drew to screen for him. How do they react to it? They're putting two to the ball. Drew, get into the middle. I'm going to find you from there. I see that Drew's in the dunker spot. I'm going to attack lively on this drive, and this might have been Luka, whatever. And I know Jalen is probably going to be open in the wing, which is basically like behind my head, because, just the way that Dallas is bringing the help. Or I'm going to reject this screen where Lively's on me, with Drew screening for me once again, because, he's going to be anticipating that. And just that right there is what the process has been for so many years with these guys, where it's, obviously making additions to the roster, and we'll talk about that whole thing in a second, but those two growing year after year at reading defenses, anticipating how they're going to be helping, who's going to be potentially open on the floor if you got to make that skip pass, whatever. Recognizing when the driving lane is going to be there. And look, I understand that Tatum's efficiency wasn't great in this series, but the passing, the rebounding, the defense, even if Luka had his time scoring over him, but still, like the team defense with Tatum switching the screens off the bigs and everything, like all that mattered. And of course, Jalen's on-ball defense on Luka in this game was fantastic, picking him up early, fighting around screens, the whole thing. Anyway, I'm happy it was those two. And I just saw that Jalen won Finals MVP, and that really makes me feel good, because there were some takes about Jaylen Brown over the past year. Just going to put it like that. I know what happened in that Game 7 against Miami. I know. I remember one of the games of this series, I forget which one exactly, but like when Dallas was coming back, Jalen was like, I'm going to put my head down. I am attacking time and time again, and he was able to shut the water off on a Dallas comeback. Defensively, he was great this year. And then a very small thing with this game was like, he set a screen for Tatum in like the fourth quarter that led to them getting a foul or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, that is one little teeny tiny play in this whole grand scheme of things. But like, yeah, that's growth. I want to talk about Al Horford before we talk about Drew, Derek White, Porzingis, the whole thing. So when I was talking about watching those 2018 playoffs again, I'm looking at a more athletic Al Horford, genuinely getting buckets on the Milwaukee Bucks. And that was round one, in case you forgot. And man, with Al, I still remember when they got him the first time. Shams, it was either Shams or it was Woj, had a tweet where it was like, Al Horford is very close to signing with, I think it was the Wizards, John Wall, Bradley Beal, and then out of nowhere it's, boom, Al Horford is signing with the Celtics. And I remember for like weeks leading up to that free agency, I was like, this is the one move I really want, because I was just beating the drum of like, listen, I know that Horford's box score stats are not insane, but impact on the game and all this stuff. Not like I was the only person saying this. And then Al Horford proceeded to, over many years, be one of the best Joel Embiid defensive options you can imagine. He's also had some admirable defensive efforts against Giannis as well. Obviously, a team effort guarding guys like that, but the point being is Al was part of that. His growth as a three-point shooter. I also think, in the Udoka season, where the defense went to levels that were just insane, I always thought that Al being the centerpiece of all that, like allowing Time Lord to be more of the help guy and all that, I always thought it went like a little underrated, which is just the epitome of Al Horford. I mean, hell, I'm thinking about his two-man game with Kyrie back in the day for the short time that Kyrie was on the Celtics, or his two-man game with Isaiah. And, as I mentioned, that 2018 team, I can't help but notice, Marcus Smart is on the team. I've already had my reaction to when they made the Marcus Smart trade. My basic thing was, obviously they're losing a spirit of the team, but also what they're gaining in Porzingis is kind of nutty. And we saw that Porzingis basically made this team a cheat code with the spacing and the scoring in the post and the rim protection. We all get this. This has all been done enough. Derek White, man, I remember when Brad traded for Derek White, I think my reaction was basically like, well, defensively and passing-wise, he should help. We will see where his scoring and his three-point shooting gets to. And I do remember there were stretches there in that first year where there was like some hesitancy. Some nights you could tell he's going to be gunslinging. Other nights, too, he's kind of iffy on his outside jumper. His growth has been insane. I mean, Derek White, you talk about contracts, what they gave up for him. I remember the first game he played for them, he made just a routine pass for himself, but that Celtics team at that time desperately needed more playmaking. And he makes this bullet pass to Grant Williams that I think he just got fouled on. It's not even an assist. And yet in that moment, I was like, oh, okay, that was different. And then over time, he develops more of the two-man game with Tatum, especially where he's screening for him, and that's really effective. And then in the case of Drew, hey, listen, Bucks, I get it. You wanted some more juice on offense. Dame had a weird season by his standards. But I love having Drew Holiday on my team, man. Of course, thank you to the Blazers and all that. And then, of course, there was the coaching carousel where, Brad, for many years it was great. Then suddenly it's like, what the hell's going on? Udoka comes in, they become an incredible defensive team, and then things happen, we'll just put it like that. And to where now Mazzulla's the coach, and, a couple additions, they become like the most analytically friendly team you can imagine. And here we are. It feels good, man. Thank you guys for watching. Another season in the books. Of course, I'm going to be doing another video probably like 2 days. We're probably going to do the future of the Mavs. We got the draft coming up. We got free agency coming up and not too long here. Like, the ball doesn't really stop rolling, but, this season is done.